I'm delighted to come along today and talk to you all about research dissemination, specifically through the associations and societies, networks and special interest groups. So today I hope to cover the following objectives so that we'll understand the value of disseminating research through professional networks, societies and special interest groups, that we will hopefully identify relevant EAL and multilingual focus networks and Sigs, and we'll begin to explore practical strategies for engaging with these groups. We did want to have a few breakout rooms, but I think we have to revert to a whiteboard activity at the very end, and I hope to get you to be able to think about specific networks or Sigs that you think could link to your area of research, and begin to be quite strategic about targeting those to be able to promote your research going forward. So I have a little QR code if everyone wouldn't mind taking a picture of it with your phone. There are a list of options, so please take all the lists options that apply, and it's in relation to the many ways in which we can disseminate research, just to get an idea of the sort of the main ways in which we are presently disseminating research. And then I'm going to go on to talk to you all specifically today about those professional associations, networks and special interest groups. And many of you might be involved in a number of them already, but those of you who aren't, I hope today will be helpful and that you'll understand the value of them, and you'll understand how you can link in, join their mailing lists and get involved to disseminate your research. If there are any issues with the QR code, just let me know.
I tried to enter and it directed me to Microsoft account.
Okay, it might be something linked to the university, and they might need to be Ulster students, maybe.
Yes,
okay.
I'm afraid so.
All right, okay. What I'll do is I'll include in the slide the list that I have, Yelena. So whenever you give everyone the PowerPoint, you can have it, they can self-assess the many ways in which they can disseminate research. So we'll work around that. So sorry about that. Okay, so just briefly to start, what is the value of dissemination beyond journals? So sometimes it's the golden standard, isn't it? We all strive and we work towards writing up journal articles, and that is very important. But it also limits how our research is found, how our research is given an impact. So if we want it to be practical and make a difference, we need to go beyond journals, because journals have a certain audience, and journals are also written with a focus on theory and also methods. But if we really want to make an impact, we need to get our research out to practitioners, to classrooms, to associations, to be able to disseminate and make our research visible. So it establishes impact when you can do this. And so therefore the journal form, if you like, isn't the most appropriate for that. So if we can think about the different ways in which we can disseminate our research, that's through things like podcasts, blogs, newsletters, for example, ways in which teachers who are very, very busy can readily access in a very accessible manner what the research and the cutting edge sort of innovative strategies for pedagogy are. There's going to be much more intake, and there's going to be much more interest in them seeking out your research in journal articles, for example. It's also about collaboration. So we're going to talk about the professional associations and how they allow you to join communities. They allow you to have those professional conversations. They allow you to develop ideas, get feedback, and more importantly, to collaborate and connect as well. And also it amplifies your research. It makes it much more visible because you have it available in many different formats, and that they are targeting different audiences beyond the journals. So what's the difference between academic publishing and professional dissemination? So academic publishing is for a discrete audience, whereas professional dissemination is much more practical, and it's much more accessible. And it's about understanding how you are translating your research into these much more accessible forms, and how you are developing much more reach for your research and much more visibility for yourself as a researcher as well. So there are many benefits of engaging with networks and Sigs. So what I mentioned before, the feedback that you get from colleagues, the connections, the ideas that you can make in relation to direction of research projects that you're working on and how it can link with colleagues. Lots of professional associations and networks and Sigs have funding opportunities. They have bursaries, they have small grants, and specifically, which I'm going to sort of look at today, is to signpost you to those that really do value early career researchers, because there's a special place in lots of associations to support and bolster and give a helping hand up to researchers that are just starting out. So it's important to note your identity if you are an early career researcher, whenever you are engaging with these professional associations, networks and Sigs, because they have different criteria that will apply to funding, postgraduate awards, for example, and bursaries. So moving on, what are professional associations and societies to start? So these are formal structures. They're organised communities and they're specifically for professionals in the particular field. And their sole purpose is to set high standards and to maintain them within that particular field. They also support collaboration and communication, and they enable the sharing of expertise. They promote the research within that field through conferences. So it's the organizational and the logistics associated with that. They often have journals associated with their organizations, and they are leading authority figures that will advocate for researchers, and so therefore they can have an impact on policy, and they can be advocates in terms of lobbying political partners. So they can set the standards for the area and field. One that I'll mention a lot today is the British Educational Research Association, and that's one with which I'm affiliated with, and there may well be your own national associations as well. I would really recommend, and I'll say this throughout, that you do connect with BERA, because it is a place that really welcomes early career researchers, and it really welcomes researchers with diverse experiences of differing educational systems, of which you all have. And they really would love you to join the conversations on educational provision and development that you're all engaging with. So they help members with, and there's usually a fee, of course, with these professional associations, and that's so that they can run these conferences, that they can have these journals, they can have it peer reviewed, and they can have that clout, for want of a better word, as well, within their sphere. For us, it's the education arena. They facilitate professional development, and I'll signpost you to a few options as we go along as well today. They can narrow specific fields into special interest groups. So you can really hone in and select the particular research area that you are engaging with. You can find a special interest group and you can join conversations, meetings, online webinars, and have those moments where you're able to discuss specifically your research, and that's fantastic professional development. They also run things, for example, the network that I'm involved with, the early career network that BERA offers, things like coffee mornings for researchers to come along and talk about the research, to talk about the stages that they are at in terms of master's thesis or PhD studies, for example. They can have specific sessions on how to write a blog, how to write present a research poster. So they have these great supports for their members. It facilitates networking, of course, as well. And an outcome often of Sigs, the special interest groups, can be resources which are tailored towards the target audience. And for ourselves, that would be teacher educators, and it would be teachers as well. They advocate for us in terms of the research and the educational field and the budgets and the financial implications and pressures. They're able to be a voice, a strong voice, a collective voice based on their members. There's lots of consultative opportunities where associations will ask for opinions, and they'll be able to promote those opinions to the people that, you know, make bigger decisions, if you like. And it's great for career development in terms of your CV to say that you are a member of a professional association, that you are engaging with a professional association, and you have that professional growth and openness to developing yourself and your career as well. So I have listed here some professional associations, and I've went sort of local first. So the first one I've listed there, and you can see their little icons towards the bottom of the screen. And I also have the websites for all of these listed as well. So you can click on these whenever you get more time and have a look at all the groups and the special interest groups that they offer, and find out, you know, is it something that appeals to your specific area of research, and join. So the first one I have there is the ESAI. So that's based in Ireland. It's the Educational Studies Association of Ireland. And that's specific to researchers within the context of the island of Ireland. And then moving on from that, we've got SERA, that is the Scottish Educational Research Association. And then I've got BERA, and that's the British Educational Research Association. Now, it's not just sometimes open to just Irish, Scottish, and British members. BERA, for example, takes members from all over the world, and it has a good international reputation. And as I said, it's a really good space, positive space for early career researchers. BERA has 33 special interest groups, so I'm sure there's one, language and literacy in particular, that would be well placed to target English as an additional language, pedagogy and practice. So that might be a SIG that you would be interested in connecting with. So that's the local context. If we move further on, we've got ERA, which you may be familiar with. So that's the European Research Association. And for example, the Irish Association, ESAI, is linked then to ERA. So ERA actually is an umbrella organisation where the likes of ESAI, SERA and BERA feed into at points as well. I've put in there the American Educational Research Association, and then also WERA, the World Education Research Association. So if you have time to go onto the websites, you'll get an understanding of what they offer in terms of research networks and special interest groups. You can have a look at their publications, their resources, and be able to determine, is this something that will help you? Is this something that will feed into your research area? And you can begin to build connections through these associations. Okay, so they're the large sort of place where our networks generally and our special interest groups sit. So I'm now going to move on to networks. So what are professional networks? These are more informal or semi-formal groups of researchers who share common interests or goals. They sometimes mostly do sit in within formal organizations, but they can also be informal. So for example, I'm a member of a Teams Early Childhood Career Network, and that's set up with colleagues within the university. So networks are just where researchers get together. They've got a common broad theme or area of interest, and they're just getting together and they're sharing ideas and they're collaborating. So it's much more about facilitating collaboration. There is a degree of knowledge exchange, but I would say it's much more conversational supports, advice as well. So I've just given you an idea. I've taken a screenshot from the Scottish Educational Research Association. And if you have a look, you'll see that there's in the top tab, networks, and you can see the range of networks and where the specific areas are. So again, just to get you to think about the many ways in which you can join quite a lot of associations to build up connections with other researchers and to be able to collaborate too on research projects. There's lots and lots of opportunities for you to do that. BERA is the British Educational Research Association, and that's one where I am a member. And in terms of its network, I'm also a convener. So the convener are people who help organize the events for the network. So I'm a convener for BERA's Early Career Researcher Network. And in terms of how that happened for me, I completed my PhD. And as I was completing my PhD, I was signposted to this Early Career Researcher Network, and I joined a coffee morning. And in joining the coffee morning, I got talking to many other early career researchers. And as time went by, a role for the convener came up. And this happens a lot. So there's many opportunities for you to have a more recognized role rather than just being a member of an association. You can become a convener of a network or even a convener of a special interest group. In some associations, you can even suggest a gap. So if you go on to an organization and you see that there is a gap in terms of maybe perhaps EAL teacher education pedagogy or EAL pedagogy itself, you can bring that attention to the association's council, and they will provide a space potentially because they will want to be able to cover as many bases as possible. And you can facilitate the management of that. The thing is, of course, these are all unpaid roles, but they build up your career, and they're invaluable in terms of the expertise that they offer to you as well. So in terms of BERA, there are 4 dedicated networks. There's the Early Career Researcher Network, which is, again, there's many opportunities to submit abstracts. There's bursaries associated with that. There's also undergraduate and postgraduate awards. So things like that can really add to your CV. There's also the BERA Teacher Network, the BERA Neurodivergent Researchers Network, and the BERA Teacher Education Advancement Network. So that's for the teacher educators. So that's, again, another very useful one to join. So just to give you all an idea about the premise of the BERA Early Career Researcher Network, is to support individuals who are completing or just finished a master's or a doctorate in education. So we have coffee mornings. We also have specific events tailored to early career researchers. So if there might be a session on ethics, there might be a session on interview technique, there might be something on analysis, for example, and also sessions like presenting at conference, because everyone is starting out, and it's how we can build up the skill set that is needed when they actually get their qualifications. So it's a really safe space for everyone to ask any questions at all, to really understand, good approaches in terms of their research contexts. And in doing so, you can make connections with like researchers who are engaging in the same research area as yourself. And because, for example, most of you are obviously international, the comparative links, would be very welcome as well. So again, I would really recommend that you have a look at this network. So it provides early career researchers with the knowledge and skills, and it helps them to connect with their peers, and they also engage with BERA and the wider educational research community. And this is achieved through many ways. It's achieved through newsletters. So there's a research intelligence newsletter that BERA as the whole association publishes. And then there are tailored events, as I'd mentioned, and there's also an early career researcher conference. So BERA, every association will have a conference, but sometimes the networks within the associations will also have their own smaller conference. And this is the case with BERA's ECR network. And again, it's specifically for early career researchers. So abstracts are welcomed and there's generally a brief, and it's usually about your career stage and your identity as an early career researcher. And it's not about you telling us about the finished product, but it's about you telling us about what you've learned so far through the stages of your master's journey or your PhD journey as well. And an early career researcher is anyone who is a postdoc student 5 years out, I think is the official line. I put this up to let you understand how engaging with an association has helped me. So as I said, I joined BERA I had joined it when I was going through the PhD, and I found it very, very useful. I then started to attend the coffee mornings, and more the same people were there, and we had lots of things to talk about and connections to make. I was then asked to help, once I got the role of convener, I was asked to help with some of the special interest group events. I was also asked to contribute towards early career researcher newsletters. So there's 4 conveners in total. I think there's 5 now, actually. I'm the Northern Ireland representative. There's a Scottish representative, a Welsh representative, and 2 English. And we take it in turns and we publish early career researcher news. We are also invited to share our research through BERA's blogs. And I think you might have had a session with that with Barbara. And again, it's a very accessible way to get your research out to people who matter and who will read it. Coffee mornings, I've organised coffee mornings and helped chair them. I've also been asked to chair symposiums, and I've got one that I'm going to signpost to you all if you want to come back and see me at another webinar. And symposiums are where BERA as an organisation, as an association, has invited a number of people, early career researchers for the Early Career Researcher Symposium, to submit abstracts to be able to present in an online space. So there'll be about 4 people presenting on their research, and there will be a more experienced colleague who will listen to their presentation and will give them feedback on their presentation and also their content and their methods. And if the participant has any questions to ask that experienced colleague in terms of how can they promote this further, how can they disseminate it further, or is it a question about methods and where should they take it, it's a space to be able to explore and discuss there. There's also conference engagement. So in my role as a network convener, I also help organise and chair, and I actually review the abstracts that come through for BERA's Early Career Researcher too. And that's fantastic professional development for me to see how and why abstracts should be written, for example. There are also awards. BERA has awards for early career researchers and also the best postgraduate thesis. So again, they ask us to look at some abstracts, and then we look at the full thesis and we make a decision as well. And there are also funding opportunities. BERA has, as an association, a small grants fund. And again, I've been exceptionally lucky to put in a bid. It's for about £5,000, but it's in allowing me and a colleague to now investigate research on EAL children with SEN in primary schools. And I'm going to look at it in Northern Ireland, and my colleague's going to look at it in the Republic of Ireland. So for me, the experience of engaging with research associations and then with the relevant networks and the special interest groups has been a very positive one, and a very sort of career enhancing one as well. Here are some of the network, BERA's network, for example, events that are coming up. So there's one on the 18th of November. I'm not sure what timelines these would be, because I know that we're 5 hours behind you. But here's one, for example, about poster impact and how you can craft a poster. So in terms of getting your research out there and even allowing the key points to be understood, posters are so effective. And that's a 2-hour session to help you understand how to craft a good one. And then on the 19th of November, that's the ECR symposium that I'm chairing with an experienced colleague, where we'll listen to 4, maybe 6, but usually it's about 4 participants talk about their research, and then they'll ask questions, and there will be participants attending as well who can also listen in and give their views as well. So as I said, it is a lovely space for early career researchers to be able to see how to give presentations, to hear advice given to participants from experienced colleagues, and to gain insights into things that might impact and link to their own research projects or methods as well. So the other network that we all know about, well, are social media networks, and the most obvious and famous one for ourselves would be LinkedIn. It's a professional platform to showcase professional identity and to be able to showcase work and achievements. And again, LinkedIn is really useful because we sometimes can, as researchers, we can focus on the end product too much. And so nobody hears from us about what we're doing. So it's really useful to remind people about the stages that you are at. So you've just finished data collection, you've got a poster to present, your early findings, you've got a presentation at a conference to report on that. So LinkedIn is a super way to be able to highlight and make your research visible and to gain traction where other people will understand you're an up and coming researcher in that field as well. It enables connections and collaborations with peers. The more you post, people will begin to reach out to you. It's not just researchers, but it's institutions. And again, it's having that lens on what's happening in different places. There are many other networks as well. So I'm following quite a few groups. I've got specific EAL groups. So I've got specific SEN groups. So I've got lots of really good groups with all that expertise that I can tap into and that I can ask questions. So they would be closed groups where you request to join, they'll look at your profile. So I'll talk about that later, but it's really important that you have a picture. I would be quite shy, but yes, you need a picture and people like to see who you are. And also what exactly are your areas of interest? What are your qualifications? Who are you, to be able to join that conversation with these experienced colleagues as well. So it facilitates feedback and commentary on work, and it just offers that professional lens beyond your immediate colleagues as well. It enables access, as I said, to specific groups and communities for specific research interests. So it's an invaluable tool. And again, if it's not something that you have signed up to, all this I do appreciate does take time. I'm getting there slowly too. But people say things like, in your work diary, to have space for connecting with networks, connecting with your Sigs, connecting with your LinkedIn, to make sure that there's constant momentum in terms of your voice in conversations as well. So that's something to consider. And I thought I would mention the other two spaces for sharing, engaging, and collaborating. So we're all familiar, I'd say, with ResearchGate, and I've just put the link in there for you all, and for academia as well. So these are places that, again, you can sign up for free. You can post up your papers, you can get feedback, you can collaborate with other researchers who will see your papers and your research. You can follow researchers, which is really interesting to see what they're up to and what the trajectory of their work and their progress is as well. And there's often lots of discussions and lots of topics. So lots of people just think it's a repository for papers, research papers, but actually there's that interactivity that you can engage with. Again, link to your own field to get your voice amplified more as somebody who has research to share within a specific field. Okay, and so now I'm moving on to special interest groups. So I went from the research associations to the networks within the associations, but they can also be housed outside, like in teams or internally within university structures, for example. The special interest groups are generally housed within a professional organization. And these are subgroups, and they would follow the research association's guidelines as well. So where a network is maybe a little bit more informal and hosts things like coffee mornings, special interest groups would do the same, but they also provide more of a platform for sharing your expertise. So as part of a special interest group, you can suggest topics, you can suggest webinars, you can suggest workshops, and you can contribute towards that as well. So it's much more probably about getting your research out there as well as collaborating, so that there's a good degree of knowledge exchange. BERA has 33 special interest groups, and the special interest groups would have a smaller participant grouping, if you like, where the networks would have a wider range of people, typically, but not always. It's much more esoteric and it's much more targeted and it's much more specific. So the early career researcher network, for example, that's quite interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary, whereas these special interest groups are much more nuanced and niche and linked to the specific targeted areas of research as well. And within that framework, they promote and they engage with the publication of different types of research that their members can bring through webinars, through workshops as well. Here are, oh, sorry, went too far there. I've just taken a screenshot of some of the SIGs that BERA offer, just to give you an idea of what I mean by niche and more nuanced. So we've got alternative education, for example. We've got artificial and human intelligence, arts-based educational research. We've got STEAM, teacher education, youth studies and informal education, inclusive education. And the one that I think fits most with EAL pedagogy would be the literacy and language. So that's something that is worth locating as well. And I'm not sure, but there could possibly be a convener opening for that particular SIG as well. And again, if you go on to the Research Association's websites and just maybe, as I said, make a little note in your diaries to continually do this, because things are published and we can miss deadlines and dates for bursaries or awards. But there's often published sort of roles for conveners. And I think there might be one for that literacy and language convener as well. Or if not, it's just recently closed. And then just to give you a flavor of what does it mean when you're in the SIG, here are, for example, again, through the lens of BERA, some of the SIGs which are meeting the 5th of November. So that's tonight for us, because we're just at 20 to 1 here in the UK. There's also one on the 11th of November. So they're research methodologies in education. And I thought that was a very interesting one for a lot of the delegates here. It's the comparative and international education SIG, which I think, you know, given your experience of your different educational systems, it would be really interesting for people to come along and talk about, you know, how English is taught and how the education system is structured as well. So there's some ideas of SIGs with which you might want to have a look at and possibly connect into as well. So I just wanted to maybe point out the key differences of what the associations are, what the networks are, and what the SIGs are. So the associations are broad and formal. The networks are much more flexible and they're often cross-disciplinary, whereas the SIGs, the special interest groups, are much more niche and nuanced and related to specific fields as well. The associations, in terms of structure, they often have governance and official roles. Again, the networks are often more informal, so there's conveners or chairs that help the organization and push forward dates to meet and dates to get speakers in to keep the network going, as well as the SIGs. And the SIGs generally operate under association rules. So often, for example, in BERA, special interest groups are to publish a newsletter. I think it's twice a year. And again, they will go to members. So if you join a special interest group, the chair of that group will go to the members, and it's a smaller cachet of members because it's a more targeted area of research interest, and they will ask the members to contribute. So these are things, again, that are career enhancing in terms of, you know, you contributed to a SIG, you produced a newsletter for an esteemed research association such as BERA, such as WERA or ERA, or whatever it might be as well. And then the activities, the associations often have large conferences that can run for a day or two. They publish from the journals, whereas the networks focus on collaboration. Sometimes they can have smaller conferences, and the Sigs host events and discussions as well. And they really offer, the Sigs are really a platform for some of their members to say, I've got to stage my research and I've got some interesting findings and I'd really like the opportunity to present them via webinar, via the, you know, a blog, and the Sig is that structure that can facilitate that. There's some crossover between networks and Sigs, but it's the specificity, excuse me, of Sigs that is the difference. And yeah, I just wanted to show you the interrelatedness of these three sort of things, the associations, the networks, and the Sigs. So here, for example, I've taken the screenshot from the Education Studies Association of Ireland. So it is linked to Sigs, for example, special interest groups. And then if you have a look, it says where it's affiliated with ERA. So that's the European Educational Research Association, and it's also associated with WERA, the World Education Research Association. So once you start off at a national level and you start to engage with your special interest groups, you can see how you can then grow links with more international contexts. And once you can say, I'm an established member of a special interest group in a particular national context, you can then look at how you would like to offer a more international perspective and join one of their special interest groups to be able to support more research and visibility beyond your national means, if you like. So it's really important to be strategic about thinking nationally and then internationally, where are the other Sigs then that I can locate and engage with and promote my research and get the visibility as well. And then I thought I would look at the specific multilingualism networks in Sigs that are on offer as well. So as I said, the research associations that I'd mentioned before, there's a lot going on there, and there's a lot of opportunities for you all to be able to go in and network and join groups and get ideas and get lots of support really for your research and for the stage which you're at as well. So I put up here the British Association for Applied Linguistics, and that has 19 Sigs, and there's a link to that. There's the National Association for Teaching English in Other Communities and Adults. That has got a lot of resources, and I'm not sure if it's international members, but it's got a lot of resources that I don't think you have to pay to access, so I thought it would be useful. There's the International Association of Teachers of English as a Foreign Language, and they have 16 Sigs. Again, so you've got that teaching of English as a foreign language, and then they've got 16 Sigs that really drill down into discrete areas within that as well. And then there was AILA, which is the International Association of Applied Linguistics, and there at the bottom you can see the icons linked to those particular associations. So please do, when you have time, think about, you know, some of you obviously are already members of these associations, or maybe there's just one or two, but to sort of see how there are many opportunities and many groups that you can engage with and communicate with to be able to collaborate and possibly extend aspects of your research further. So, okay, 15 minutes, I sort of got there. I can take questions at this point in time. My idea was that I was going to get you all to connect and go into breakout rooms, but we don't have that facility. So we're going to put up a whiteboard, and I'm just going to ask you, there's also a Padlet link there, but maybe I'll post that into the chat as well. But it's really just to get you to think about what associations, networks, and Sigs are you already part of? What are your goals for dissemination? And what new networks could help you reach those goals? So it's having that, well, it should have been a conversation, but it's now just going to be your thoughts on that.
And Dr. Nicola, just at the beginning, you asked about, ask people to share their ideas about dissemination of what they do. And many of the participants, they wrote that, yes, first of all, they use journals, they use their academic community, they share their research with their colleagues, with the students. That were the most answers. And some of the participants mentioned ResearchGate.
Okay, brilliant. Yes. Yeah.
This resource.
Great, great, super. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of wide methods being used. So it's just again, using these SIGs, using these networks, and also understanding what their purpose is in facilitating you to promote your research, and also to help you further your research, and also the more informal forms of communicating our research, such as podcasts or webinars, because within the context of networks and SIGs, and within research associations, there are spaces to publish blogs and publish newsletters and publish posters and publish podcasts where their membership will go to. And again, that's increasing your visibility as well. So it's just about being aware and open to all of the different ways in which you can form and craft your research findings and find a good audience and a relevant audience beyond journals as well. Thank you, Yelena. That's really interesting to know. Shall I take questions, or shall I let people just let me know what they're already part of and what their goals for dissemination might be? Are there any questions anyone wants to ask? Either speak to me or via the chat.
Nicola, you see one of the messages in the chat. Well, from Rakima, participated in KASTI conference, dissemination of materials among colleagues. KASTI, that is the Kazakhstani Association of English Teachers. Well, so the people see participation in the conferences as a chance to disseminate their work. Okay, you see, if you check the chat, there are some answers.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just trying to get this up. Very new. Okay, yeah, roundtable discussions are really useful. Yeah, and again, for early career researchers, they are a very good way in which you can start to promote your research as well. Yeah. Oh, are there any other questions? I can't really see. Yeah, conferences are really useful for disseminating information. And I think too, post-COVID, there are many online conferences as well. So, you know, before it would have been inaccessible time-wise as well as financially, but now I think there are much more opportunities. And it's not even a conference, but it's that special interest group. If you join a group and you're able to schedule a half hour to be able to promote your research, your target audience is the specific people in your field. They're your peers. They're the people that you want to be able to engage with your research and you want to be made known to as well. So it's really useful from that perspective. Most of the associations aren't free to join. They do have membership levels. So if you're a student, there would be a certain cost. If you were a colleague, there would be a certain cost as well. I think BERA is approximately about 100, I think, pounds. So I'm not sure what that is, Jelena. But in terms of what you get back from, I think it's really good value. I think if you go on to, you know, the International TEFL Conference Association website, you know, and engage with them, you'll find that there will be opportunities for you to participate. So try it. That's Rahima, isn't it? Yeah. I think people think that people are not interested in the research, or you have to be quite esteemed, or you have to be quite experienced. But I do think that, you know, it's really important that you do try, and you'll get the feedback. And if it's not what you want, that's fine. But I do think a lot of editors are really happy to give advice and feedback. shall we put up the whiteboard, Yelena, and everyone let me know what associations or networks or SIGs are you already part of? If everyone wants to take a screenshot of that slide, and then Yelena's going to put the whiteboard up and we're going to have a look at what we're already part of, what are our goals for dissemination, and what new networks can help us reach those goals.
Okay, well, I cannot open the dashboard because
I've
of
got
the
to
presentation.
I've got to stop sharing. I'm going to stop sharing now. So just a final reminder, if everyone wants to take a picture, to remember the 3 questions that we're going to talk about. Thank you.
Well, dashboard. Okay, so dear colleagues, you're welcome to type. So we see some people are starting, or at least checking. TESOL. Well, we have the reply here that Malakot wrote, well, that she wants to try
Just
to
put the
develop
3
a
areas.
blog.
If you use the T for the text box, you can type. If that makes it a little more organized, that would be very helpful.
Sorry.
Yeah, I can see a lot of TESOL and TEFL.
Because, well, I think that this is mostly true because, and just why it's like the most popular answer. First of all, here, the people who speak English. Most of the people who speak English, they are somehow connected with teaching English.
Yeah.
Well, that's one thing. Maybe we have, I am sure that we have many people here who are not connected with teaching English. But, well, in case of association, it's a huge question because the associations which are mentioned here, well, psychology, well, probably, I'm not sure whether the people participate in these conferences or not.
Yeah,
And
if you were to
associations.
research psychology research associations, you will find national and international associations.
Is adding the text. But still, some people prefer just writing.
That's fine.
Okay. We see live participation.
Yeah. The other thing I would say too about associations and networks and SIGs is that more and more in terms of research and reach, lots of grants applications, for example, and lots of journals and editors, they really like the co-participatory approach. So where there's some interaction between the actual participants or the targeted audience. And again, networks and SIGs can really help with that as well.
So you mean that if you are submitting a paper and you are mentioning in the cover letter that you are a member of this association, it may help.
Yeah, I think so. It would definitely help. But I also think that in terms of you reaching your participants, so they like to have things that, as part of your research project, you'll have an actual toolkit. So there'll be a product linked to the participants and how it's going to benefit them. But not just that the researcher then has created the toolkit, but there's an aspect of co-design, for example, and that's where the networks and the special interest groups can help researchers understand how to access participants, for example, you know, more effectively as well. I don't know if anyone has any questions then at this point. It's a shame I couldn't get you into groups to sort of maybe have a little chat about which organizations that you were in. Yeah, someone said benefit from sharing ideas with like-minded people and get recognized and influenced. Yeah, I think it really is about influence your community, getting your name out there, and what is it that you're all about? What is your research area? What is your research field? So people within those special interest groups will know people in other special interest groups. So it really is the more groups and networks that you link into. But it's about making sure that you are seen to be getting involved, that you're seen to be contributing. So it really is about not just taking ideas, but sharing ideas, giving back. But that's what you want to do because you want to make your research visible. You want to promote it in that way as well. And you've got that specific expert group, you know, who will help shape your ideas because they know what that field is like and what that field needs as well. Lots of opportunities for co-collaboration and co-writing articles as well. It's not doesn't always have to be done by yourself. So Yelena, in that final slide, I've just listed those links to those research associations, but even as I understand, some of the delegates here aren't educationalists, so they might be psychologists. The premise is still the same. If you try and find out a research association linked to your field, they should have networks, they should have special interest groups, and again, go further and use social media groups like LinkedIn and ResearchGate and academia, and really try and get involved with communities of people within your research area. I'm not sure
Yes,
somebody had a hand up there.
Okay. Well, as for the presentation, just it will be uploaded to Moodle system of our university. And those who I have received two messages just now that people cannot log into Moodle. Well, check again your emails. Well, and if not, then just text me. I will write again my email. Well, and I will try to understand what is wrong because I have two or maybe four emails which returned undelivered. And also, well, there was there were some cases when different people use the same email. Maybe that's also the problem with this.
Yeah, and I can see that someone's goal is to integrate the research findings into educational programs and professional development activities. And I'm a teacher educator as well, and my research does inform my practice, and I write that up as well, and I promote that through the different forums too. And for example, the research I'm currently doing, we have a toolkit linked to it. So it's at the moment it's English as an additional language, children with special educational needs and post-primary schools, and then we're taking it on to primary schools. So yes, Ina, is it Anya? Ina, thank you for that. Aina, lovely. That's a really nice name,
nice
Aina. Yeah, because that's the goal, isn't it? You don't want it to be just left in a journal, and no, you want it to have an impact, and you really want it to make a difference to pedagogy and practice. So, as teacher educators too, or as if you've got that pool of people, then you can really show that it's working and then report your findings as well. It's you know, it's a really useful space to be in.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, shall we close the board?
Yeah.
I will take the screenshot, just it's interesting.
You could, I can share one more slide.
Yes, you have some other slides to share.
I realize we're...
Okay.
Here we go. Can you see that okay, Yelena, and everyone?
Yes, yes, we see very well.
Okay, so yeah, just general sort of summary of what to do in terms of connecting is to sign up, first of all, to the professional associations. There is a cost to it, so find out what that is, but hopefully they're really useful, I feel, and really worthwhile. But yeah, do investigate which one's more suited to you. And they've got different pricing parameters too. Please do think about creating a strong profile so that your visibility is linked to a person. You've got a good photo image. You've got a biography about, you know, who you are, and it's linked to your research interest. So there's a really good professional understanding of where you're situated as well. And do list your publications and your engagements with, is it a conference, is it a newsletter, whatever those research outputs might be. As well. Join your relevant groups and your networks. Think about LinkedIn. That's a really easy one to do, and it's really quite accessible. You can have the app on your phone and you get notifications. But do think about carving out those times in your diaries to make sure that you remember to go onto the websites and see what's happening with Sigs and what opportunities there are, what sort of deadlines there might be for abstract submission, poster submission, awards or bursaries, small grants, for example. So join the mailing lists and attend events, get seen and get involved and engage in the conversation. So there will probably be lots of face-to-face, but there are also online sessions as well. And especially within that SIG space, special interest group space, offer ideas. Don't think that you're just there to sort of listen to everyone else, but offer your own ideas. And wherever you see gaps and wherever you think your research is going to fill that gap, offer the idea to fill that gap by presenting on it as well and getting your research out there. Engage actively, comment on posts, share your insights, ask questions, share your work, your links to publications. And again, think about how you're sharing it. So, you know, make it in plain English, make it be visual, put in your infographics, for example, you know, make people remember it as well. So that, again, it's not just written in that very formal academic style of a journal. And then follow and connect with researchers, with institutions, and with thought leaders. So the larger researchers, if you go into LinkedIn, they have an opportunity for you can follow them. And for example, it's Braun and Clark, you know, the ladies who have that method of analysis, they've got a very large following now, and it can really help you if that's a methodology that you're using, for example, as an analysis tool. And participate in events, put yourself forward, believe that you can contribute, carve out an idea and promote how you can deliver on that. And that can be through webinars, it can be through conferences, coffee mornings, online discussions as well. And that's it. I'm hoping that we have covered these session objectives and they've been met. So I'm hoping that you all now understand the value of associations and networks and special interest groups, And I was talking to a colleague and actually preparing for this presentation, I didn't realize that a few of them existed. So I'm actually going to start connecting to a few more myself later on today when I get a moment, because they are very useful and they're your people, they're your tribe, if you know what I mean. They'll understand what you're trying to do. And so it's a really good idea to sort of make those links and those connections, no matter what stage you're at. Because there'll be more experienced people for sure, but there will also be people who will have less experience than you, and that's the beauty of them as well, too. Here, finally, are the research associations just to get you going. Click on them and see if there are SIGs there that appeal. And that's me. I hope that has been useful. And if there are any questions, please do feel free to ask me some.
Okay, any questions to Nicola?
And I've just put this on too. I found this is the ERA one, so I thought that there might be nice SIGs for your delegates. It's got a little YouTube visual more than anything about how it supports reach internationally as well, and I thought it was just a really good summary of the importance and value of these types of associations. And that's me. That's the last one.
Thank you. Well, that's very nice. And well, I think that our people, we are not so advanced with the issue. Well, maybe it's just the reason why the topic for this webinars was chosen, because we are somehow behind all the ideas of dissemination. Well, thank you very much. You see the hearts.
Yeah, I do. Thank you, everyone. It was a really nice to come along and talk to you all, and I hope I have been of help. And I can't emphasize the BERA association. I just know as an early career researcher, they're very, very welcoming and open, and they're really looking for international members, and they're looking for that different lens and that sort of comparative education knowledge that you all have. So I said I would plug them. I think I have done that. As well. But thank you all very much, and best of luck with your careers and your studies. And also, you have my email address, and if there's any way I can help or answer any questions, I'm happy to do so if anyone wants to email me as well.
Thank you.